Hello and welcome back to another video on Wisdom in Christ. Today, we're going to be talking about making God number one in your life. So it's super easy for us to put God second. Sometimes we maybe have a connection with God and we believe in God, but we have a tendency to put Him second, to just kind of go through the motions, go throughout your week, and then when Sunday comes around, go to church, and then you make God a priority for 2 hours while you're at church, and then you go home and then you forget about it all over again. Now, that's not saying you don't pray or read your scriptures or do things like that, but you just don't have a tendency to make God the center of your life. But if you do make God the center of your life, He will bless you greatly. He will inspire you. He'll give you a lot of peace and assurance that you can't get when you're making Him secondary. So the very first thing that you want to do is to make God the very most important thing in your life. So keep doing the things that are important, like going to church, praying, reading your scriptures. But second to that, you need to be thinking about God always. And the secret to really do this is to pray always. So at all times, have a prayer in your mind. This isn't something you just force or something you just say, oh, I'm praying, and you start to pray for different things. It's more of a state of mind that you have. A state of mind where you're always connected with God, where you're always praying, you're always thinking of positive things. You're letting virtue garnish your thoughts unceasingly. So in other words, at all times, 24/7, you're always letting the thoughts that God would have in your mind. Not the thoughts of the enemy, not the thoughts of doubt or fear, not thoughts of judgment, not thoughts of anger or hatred, but the thoughts that God would have. Thoughts of forgiveness, thoughts of peace, thoughts of faith, thoughts of hope, thoughts of joy. Ask yourself, what are the thoughts that God would have? And then tune yourself to those thoughts. Put yourself in a state of constant prayer, not, like I said, not by force, but by tuning yourself to the frequency that God would be on. Putting your mind in the state of mind that God would be thinking. And by thinking the thoughts that God thinks, you are then doing your part in praying always. This is what it's meant by having a prayer always in your heart and always in your mind. It basically means that you're letting yourself always think the thoughts that God would think. You're never allowing yourself to think anything that's contrary to a godly thought. And this takes practice, it takes time, but it's so powerful to do these things. And as you tune yourself to the thoughts of God, it becomes easier to do so. It becomes something that's very natural for you. At all times, you're just thinking positive things. You're happy, you're hopeful, you're faithful. You're not judging others. You're seeing the best in people. You're forgiving quickly. And you're allowing yourself to be in tune with godly thoughts. And as you do this, so many blessings will pour into your life. So this is what it's really meant by making God the number one thing in your life. Then when you do go to church, then when you do pray, then when you do read your scriptures, it's going to be super meaningful for you. It's not just this thing that you're doing because you have to or because you want to build a new habit. Of course, you should want to build the habit of doing those things, but you're doing it so that you can deepen your connection with God. You're doing it so that you can always be in that state of prayer, always be in that state of devotion to God. And in my own experience, that is what it really means to pray without ceasing. It's not just thinking, oh, this thought, that thought, or running down a list of things that you need to pray about. It might be that as well. You might have a list of things that you need to pray about, but it's more of a state of mind. It's more of a spiritual frequency that you can tune yourself to through genuine and sincere devotion to God. And as you create that genuine and sincere devotion in your mind, Like I said, it flows into every other area of your life. When you're reading your scriptures, it's going to be so much more authentic for you. When you're going to church, you're going to actually feel present to the moment. You're going to learn from your teachers. You're going to feel peace. You're going to feel the Spirit. And it comes from having that constant connection with God. Or in other words, putting God first. Because sometimes we want to put ourselves first. What does Dallin want to think? And what does the natural man or woman want to think, right? And by putting ourselves first, we're really cutting ourselves off from the thoughts of God. But if we put God first, that is where the magic happens. So thank you so much for tuning into today's video. I hope you enjoyed it and learned something. Share it with your friends if you did. Hit the like button for me. And as always, peace be with you.